Welcome back to the nationally syndicated Price of Business Show. I'm your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. A personal favorite, a show favorite, someone whom we always get great feedback on every time it's on is General Jeffrey Schloser, retired general and recurring guest here on the program to talk about everything from leadership to national security issues and defense issues. And there's always more topic than time whenever I get him on, and he's a very busy man. We really appreciate him every time he can be with us. Jeff, glad to have you on the program as always. Real quickly, why don't you talk a little bit about what you're involved in now and also your book, which I consider phenomenal. If you're serious about leadership, study of leadership, General Schloser's book is must reading. Why don't you start with that and how people can learn more about what you do online?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Kevin. Thanks for having me back on the show. So the book, Marathon War, Leadership and Combat in Afghanistan, based on my experiences leading 30,000 soldiers, Marines, airmen, and sailors in Afghanistan 08 and 09. You know, that's not past history. You're still seeing part of the legacy of our involvement in Afghanistan and throughout the world. Recreated every day out there, whether it's in Afghanistan or elsewhere, maybe Europe, and you can even see some of the same things in Ukraine. JeffSchloser.com. That's SCHLOESSER. First name is JEFF. You can learn a whole lot about the book, but also about me, about my 34 years in the U.S. Army, and then also my 13 years in industry, the aerospace industry, trying to help defend our country in a different way, but no less important. So thanks for allowing me to plug it all.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate both your service then and your continued service now. Thank you for sharing your wisdom as well. Let's talk about what's happened over the last couple of days with the situation between Russia and Ukraine that seems to potentially overflowed into Poland. And, of course, they had an emergency meeting in Poland with the national security apparatus. Meanwhile, countries that are member of NATO have been in conversation and been in calls. And all of this, Article 5 weighs heavily in this when it comes to the treaty, the NATO treaty. What is Article 5, and why is it in the center of our conversation right now?
Let me make it all the way down to the personal level first, Kevin. So I have an employee that's a Polish-American citizen, and her parents still live in Poland, and the Polish. They lived less than 4 miles for where two apparent rockets or debris from rockets fell, into their village, and they were obviously very shocked. They're Polish. They thought that they were not going to be involved in the Ukrainian war in a significant way other than to be rearmed, and yet it was brought home to them. Now, the truth is this is a breaking story still over the last 36 hours. It may be well that these were actually Ukrainian air defense missiles that actually landed into the Polish area, and if so, it's a tragic mistake. Two people were killed. I won't call it the fog of war, but war is very challenging. But the potential implications, as you said, of triggering, if this had been a deliberate attack by Russia into Poland, Poland is, unlike Ukraine, is a NATO member, and it would have triggered Article 5, which is the mutual defense article, which would require the rest of the NATO countries, including the United States, to help defend Poland. And you could have seen a very significant response. In other words, immediate, better air defense. You could have seen immediate surface-to-surface missiles falling into Poland from all of NATO. Now, that apparently is not going to happen, because I think the intelligence agencies believe that this, in fact, was a mistake. It was the Ukrainians trying to shoot down Russian missiles going on their turf, and they landed in Poland. But there are other implications. And again, these are people, this is implications not only for business, but it's also on a personal level, just as I started this thing with, talking about my employee who has parents there. I do believe that this is going to cause a very significant relook into what we are providing to the Ukrainians to defend themselves, give them more capability in the way of air defense, give them more capability in the way of being able to target these Russian missiles. And I think that, we had heard over the midterm elections that maybe some of the new Republicans or some of the other ones that are being reelected were going to stop writing a blank check for Ukraine. I think that this is going to further empower people who want to continue to provide capability to Ukrainians. God knows they are fighting for their country, and they probably deserve it.
Yeah, and the reference to fog of war, which I brought up to you before we got on, is I'm not sure who coined it, but I know it was used during the Vietnam War to kind of describe some of the things that happened and where objectives override reality often. And of course, so much is happening at that time. It is hard to determine who does what and when and that type of thing. And so war does get confused. Great heart for the people of Poland. Long have, even before I went. And I was there to try to help foster free market economics in Poland after the fall. And so actually a really good job, certainly compared to the others that were behind the Iron Curtain. They've done a very good job of advancing since the fall of communism. So, yeah, and I think, I think when you look at the situation, the Ukrainians have been good stewards of what's been given to them to fight the Russians. To hear the rest of this interview and more of our great content, check out the links below.